On our last show, we saw the Wright Brothers' historic flights at Fort Myer in 1908 and 1909. But what we didn't see was how they actually did it, how these two bicycle mechanics worked out the solution to overcoming gravity. So this month, we're taking a trip out to Warrenton, Virginia, where the recreation of the 1908 Wright Flyer provides us with some answers.
Hey, Ken.
Hey, Paul.
How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Good. So this is the reproduction of the 1908 Wright Model A Flyer.
Yeah. That's the first time anybody has really seen this airplane since 1908. And can you imagine how big this is? It's almost 8 feet is the height of it. It's the largest airplane that they've built. And the engineering aspect of it, they got right on the money. They know exactly what they were doing, and the airplane performed very well.
It is similar to the earlier airplanes they developed, especially their 1905 machine, but they've made a lot of changes, didn't they?
There are a lot of improvements. This is a practical airplane. They knew this airplane they could sell and market. So in 05 was just really a test bed, but this is the direct descendant of that machine.
One of the big things that I know that they had achieved was full 3-axis control. That's something a lot of people don't understand.
Well, this is a classic example of it, and this is called Orville's control. And the rudder and the wing warping are together with 2 sticks. And you can see how it increases the angle of attack. We're right now doing a left-hand turn. So this wing has increased its camber and will rise, and this has decreased its angle of attack, so it's going to lower.
Now, I understand that that very first flight at Fort Myer on September the 3rd, Orville got confused with his controls and came down, kind of had a hard landing.
You got to remember that he had never flown this machine before.
Right.
But this is not very intuitive. Normally you think of left, right with the control. This is not intuitive at all, so you've got to think what you're doing, and it's very easy to get confused.
Right. Well, he had that one hard landing, and then 6 days later, he was up for over an hour.
Yeah.
He's a fast learner. One of the things I always find fascinating about any Wright plane, and this one is no exception, is how well everything is thought out. You've got the pilots sitting next to the engine, and how the weight of each offsets one another.
They knew a lot about balance, and so they were very much aware of that. The interesting thing here is the engine. This particular engine, the crankshaft is longer because they moved the engine forward, and that really wasn't the direction that it should be moved, but it put the airplane so that it would want to assume a nose-down attitude should they get in trouble.
I see.
They wanted to make sure that they didn't pitch up and come down like a lot of people did at that period of time.
Right. The other thing is seeing how they were able to deal with the effect of the torque of the engine, of course, because it was producing quite a lot, and that would affect the control of the airplane, too.
Exactly, and they did it so simply, they crisscrossed the chain guides to make this prop counter-rotating. So it was offsetting any torque at all, so the airplane would track straight down the field that they were flying. And it's definitely a case of these were our first aeronautical engineers. This is not 2 lucky bicycle mechanics who just happened to stumble onto this secret of flight. Well, Paul, this wind tunnel proves there's a lot of research and also a lot of math and a lot of science involved in what the Wright brothers did. They were the first to really understand how a wind tunnel worked, and they got the secrets and the data of flight in this little box.
That's right. What I find so fascinating is what they were able to achieve so quickly in the fall and winter of 01 and 02, using this wind tunnel and the very simple machines they came up with. This little balance made out of hacksaw blades and bicycle spokes, but the very sophisticated thinking behind it. One of the things that I always show elementary school kids is they made over 200 different wings, but they were all the same area, so they were able to change the shape. But since the area was the same, they were able to put them through all the same tests and start to learn the difference between one wing and another. They started learning the earlier gliders that they had built that they hadn't flown quite so well had very short, stubby wings. And they learned something about aspect ratio, and that long, skinny wings were going to be much more efficient and lift a lot better than what they had before.
I think the biggest achievement here is it gave them the courage and the knowledge to think that the leading aeronautical authorities of the day are wrong. And that's a major step for a couple of guys who are just starting out, learning the science of flight, to put away everything that's been done before and start anew.
Right. This tunnel really led to so many of their breakthroughs. This is the real masterpiece.
It really is, and that's why this airplane is so successful. This wind tunnel gave them not only the airfoil, knew about drag, and they could calculate drag, they could determine how much horsepower it took to fly, so it gave them the total success that they achieved.
Well, it's amazing to see this airplane reborn, especially considering how important it was.
It must have been the unbelievable thrill that they could see something fly when most of the people that came rode horseback. You know,
this is the real thing. This was the airplane where people finally understood that flight is real. This is the one that changed everything.
So using hacksaw blades in a homemade wind tunnel powered by a ceiling fan, these guys worked out calculations virtually identical to the ones used today by supercomputers. And you know how they did it? Their high school algebra class. Orville and Orville Wright conquered the science of flight by applying the lessons they learned in high school.